It's 5 p.m. I should be coming on. Hold on just 1 second. Okay, yep, I should be on live. Let's see if the chat widget works. Okay, I'm on live. It takes a little, there's a little bit of a delay. I'm gonna stay on here, and yep, it says that I'm live now. Hey. Just 1 second. Hey Anna, how's it going? Hey, it's working, the chat widget's working, great, awesome. So, hey Stephanie, how you doing? I'm coming live from Merida, Mexico right now. I did promise you guys that I would do a live stream. I tried to do a live stream. I tried to do a surprise live. I know some of you might have gotten a notification. Nobody came on. It was my mistake. It was the night of the debate. I think everybody was, hey John, how's it going? I apologize because it was the night of the debate and I was like, no one's coming on, and I kind of cut it off really quick. I didn't wait too long. I realized that probably a lot of people were tuned in to the debate, so I apologize for that surprise live. The other issue I was having was some signal issues there, so I decided to go ahead and just and delete the thing. But back from Anna, back from Scotland, got a decent internet again. Hey, I would sure like to. How was Scotland? I'd like to go to there. I have never been there. But as I was saying, let me just shut off my phone here. As I was saying, I would try to do a surprise live, but then I'm actually doing it from my room. I hope I sound okay. Probably an echo. I'm testing out a new mobile setup. This is kind of, basically I'm streaming from my iPad, but I'm using a different software to make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, sort of kind of like what I have set up. I can't bring up comments like I do with my laptop or my computer. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on the comments that are coming through right now. On the John Kent, you sound great. Thank you. And I'm using a microphone, a little bit more advanced software with the iPad. Oh, sorry. So I'm just coming on live from Merida, as I promised. I don't know when I'm going to be coming on live again. I released my latest video yesterday about the peso. I also had one about the bringing animals, dogs into the United States, the new CDC rules. So if you have any questions, feel free. This is, like I said, I usually stick my subject matter to whatever my last video was, or I try to make a subject matter. But if you guys have anything to say about the peso, that's great. If you have any questions, I'm free here to answer. I'm coming to you from Merida. I'm coming to you from my hotel room in Merida. I was dreaming of doing some surprise lives. I've been just a little bit about my Merida trip. This is the first time I've been here. It was an awesome trip. I had a great time, and a couple of things that we did here. We've gone to a couple of the cenotes. We've been through downtown, of course. The food's great. I'm wearing my guayabera, as you can see. I love Merida. It's just, the only thing is it's a little hot for my liking, in the sense that we're really used to San Miguel de Allende, where it's a lot cooler and dry. I was raised in the heat and humidity, but I've been away from it for a while, so it's kind of a little bit to getting used to. But we got to go to a couple of haciendas. We went to, of course, the pyramids here, or the Mayan sites here, Uxmal, and we also, thanks, got my guayabera from Merida on. We're gonna go out to dinner tonight to eat Italians. So I have date night after this live stream. And so we got to visit also an hacienda. We've been very tired because we've been running back and forth. We went to Uxmal, we went to the Hacienda yesterday, been swimming in the cenotes. It's really great, it's really beautiful. Today is our rest day. We're taking it easy today. And then tomorrow we're gonna go to one more hacienda. Saturday I go home, and my son flies in on Saturday afternoon. We take off early in the morning Saturday, and my son flies in Saturday afternoon, and we're gonna go to, I bet I know the rest. Actually, Gringos Are Us, you know the restaurant because a friend we have in common actually recommended that restaurant. She said she took you there. Or she said she recommended it to you. I'm not sure if she took you there or to the other one we went to the other night. But if it's the same one, I'm looking forward to it. So we did that, and Saturday my son comes in. The other thing that I want to announce is that I'm going to try to do some live streams. I'm going to be taking care of my son. I don't have my equipment. I have this equipment. My son's having surgery, so I really don't know what. Yeah, Denise took you there and we went back again. Yeah, she said you guys loved it. I wasn't sure if it was the other one. There was a fusion restaurant too that we went to the other night on Monday, but she said that you guys loved it, and I'm looking forward to eating there too. So. But my son's coming out on Saturday, and he's going to have surgery. So this weekend's live stream is off, and I'm going to kind of defer my live streams and my videos till further notice until my son recuperates. Now, I will try to. We did rent an Airbnb close to the clinic, even though my in-laws live in, hey, Denise, how's it going? Just talking about you, actually. But good things, of course. Best wishes, great outcome for your son's surgery. Yeah, it should be okay. But like I said, we rented an Airbnb close to the clinic because Monterrey, it's more manageable for us instead of staying at my in-laws' house. And so we're gonna stay at an Airbnb. I don't know the internet situation there. I have this nice mobile setup that I might be able to still kind of keep in contact with you guys and do live streams and give you an update of how my son's doing and how we're doing and everything else. But I just thought, what I'm going to try to do too, I want to try to do these surprise lives, but the problem with the surprise lives is out at Uxmal, out at all these places, I didn't have a cell phone signal. Thanks, Denise. I didn't have a cell phone signal. And so I haven't been able to really do any surprise lives. The other night we were, hey, Lambden, how's it going? The other night we were, thank you very much for all your support with my son. It should be okay, and we're looking forward to everything coming out okay. But we're just going to be a little busy, I think. And it should be an in and out surgery, but it does take a week or 2 weeks of recovery time. So we were out at the restaurant, but of course I forgot about the debate because I don't really, other than what I see on Facebook and the politics on Facebook and what comes across my YouTube feed about what's going on in the United States with the elections, I really don't keep track. To be honest with you, I didn't watch the debates, and I totally forgot that there was even a debate. But that's what ended up happening is I forgot, and of course I know people were pretty tied up. And then the surprise lives, I know I come on, and then the little notification comes on, and so I haven't really been able to do some surprises. But what I'd like to do is, if I travel, I'd like to actually do live streams like this. Yeah, that's their problem now. That's my attitude, Gringos Are Us. The problems that the United States have, it's their problem right now, not mine. Exactly. But of course, I forget to be conscientious that other people are watching the debate. But what I want to try to do is try to do these live streams from wherever I'm at. Also with this new setup where I can put a nice background and everything else. I sort of like what I have. I don't have StreamYard. I have another program that I use that I can bring comments up, but I can't do it. But I can still have the chat going, and then a nice little background and me in the little corner like I normally do. So I'm testing this mobile streaming setup mostly, and hopefully you guys like it. And it's also very compact and everything else. So I can still keep in touch and still do a professional like stream and still be wherever I'm at. If you have any questions about anything else, let me know. Like I said, I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to have a conversation, whatever you want to ask, like I always do. Like I said, I just did one thing about the peso not too long ago. Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad the audio is clear because I'm using a wireless mic, and so it's better than the actual webcam mic. Hey Blaine, how's it going? I'm here live. I just in Merida. Welcome to the broadcast. But as you guys know, the peso has hit 20 to 1. When I made that video last week, I actually made the two videos. The one about the bringing dogs into the U.S. Or taking dogs to the U.S. and the new CDC rules. And I also filmed the other video about the peso. And I released that one last week, and then I released this one this week. At the time that I filmed that video, it was at 19.8 to 1, 19.7, 19. It was in the 19s. It's since hit 20. So what's affecting the peso right now? There's a lot of things affecting the peso right now. And I know that there was some questions raised in the comment section, and I'm going to get back to them, I promise. I'm just busy on vacation. But what this whole thing is right now is we have, it's a combination of things. I can't say it was everything that was in my video about the diplomatic doghouse thing. What it is it's a combination of things right now. Denise, I read today that judicial reform passed, but I have not had time to research what that really means for us, other than Mexican nationals can vote for judges now. Limited understanding on my part. Yeah, and I'm going to explain that, Denise. This is why the United States is kind of concerned. And I don't know if it's really a valid concern, because the United States and Mexico both had a system of appointing federal judges, okay? And the United States still does. And when you appoint a federal judge in the United States, including the Court of Appeal, the federal judge, the federal district judges, your Supreme Court, your judges are appointed for life, okay? So what happens is that's how it works in the United States, and that's how it was used to work. Well, if it passed, I don't know yet. I haven't heard the latest news on the judicial reforms, but the way it works in the United States and in Mexico up until this judicial reform was that basically these judges are appointed for life. And the idea, the judicial idea, or the idea in the United States and the idea here in Mexico, is that the judiciary is independent and non-biased. Okay, so basically the idea is if you appoint a judge for life, you can't fire him, you can't get rid of him, and he's not going to make decisions based on who the leader is, based on politics, based on, that's the concept. In other words, but the problem in the United States and the problem you have here is, of course, the president at the time, whenever they get appointed, is the one that appoints the judge. Then they're confirmed by the Senate and in the United States. And here, they're just appointed by the president. So the big concern, because the United States feels they have the best judicial system in the world, and I'm not here to say whether they do or they don't, because it has its faults also. The biggest concern of the United States has been that you no longer have an independent judiciary. You have a judiciary that's going to try to cater to the voters, because the judicial reform basically says here in Mexico, or what they're trying to do, first of all, there's several parts of the judicial reform. Part of it is term limits. In other words, a judge can only serve for so long. In other words, no longer for life. Because what was happening here in Mexico, a lot of decisions were being made, and the judge didn't care because you can't fire me, you can't do anything. There was a lot of their supposed corruption in the judicial system. If a judge got paid off to make a decision, then basically they face no recourses. They face consequences. They face no consequences for making those decisions. So the idea behind these judicial reforms is that, first of all, you're going to be out in a couple of years. Now, second of all, hey, the people are going to choose you. So if you start making decisions because you're corrupt, the people can change who is the judge, okay, by voting for a new judge. So that's the idea behind these judicial reforms. Also, the other parts of the reforms are the pay. There's limits on the amount of money they make, stuff like that. In other words, it was a way to try to say, look, this is what Mexico is saying. We have a corrupt judicial system and we need to solve it in these ways. Now, I'm not saying that these ways are better. In the United States, I always used to tell people about the jury system. Do guilty people go free? Yes. Do innocent people get put in jail? Yes. But that's the price we pay to have the jury system. Am I saying the jury system is the best? I don't know. I worked in that system for 30 years, and for the most part, most of the people that were pretty much guilty went, and most of the people that were innocent pretty much got off. But it wasn't perfect, and no system is perfect. Now, the United States' concern with the judicial system here is that they're saying, wait a second, our judicial system is right, we do the right thing, we appoint these judges, and they're not biased. Well, we haven't, even though that these supposed biased non-biased judges are in the United States, we've seen a lot of biased decisions. The Supreme Court is mostly made up of Republican nominees, so they're going to side on the side of their conservative values or their conservative ideas, per se. You might have a judge that you might go up against in a district court that might have a conservative value that doesn't match. And there's always a way to interpret the law the way you want to interpret it. I know from experience. It doesn't matter which way you cut it. Any judge can interpret the law any way they want to interpret it. So that's the reason why the U.S. is concerned. There are some political concerns also, because right now we have a new president here in Mexico. So what's going to happen? See, here's the thing. We have a big trade. The United States has a big $1.8 trillion trade with Mexico, and they want to control it. I mean, that's just the way it works. And what would these judges have anything to do with this trade? Well, first of all, it's being used as a bargaining chip. The United States is saying, if you don't see things the way we want you to see them, you might mess up your trade partnership with us. But the problem is that the United States needs Mexico as much as Mexico needs the United States. That's one of the things that the United States has never been able to get it through their head. Yes, other countries need you, but you need those other countries just as much. If you got rid of that $1.8 trillion trade, a lot of companies in the United States would be in trouble. But that's number one. They're using that as a bargaining chip, saying, you know what? Leave the judiciary the way it is. Why? Because the judiciary, if you leave it the way it is, you have lifetime appointments. These judges have already made decisions in favor of certain policies and stuff towards the United States. Then guess what? Right now, if their new judge gets elected, those policies may not keep in effect. So the United States is not in a good position right now. They're not in a good position to bargain with Mexico, and they're trying to strengthen their position. That's the way I see it. But that's really what's going on. But the problem you have, the reason why the peso is going up so much, is that when the United States starts saying, oh, we're going to get rid of all our trade, not get rid of it, but we're going to change our trade policy towards you, then you're going to start getting a lot of problems there. Because if they start changing their trade policies, investors are saying, nah, I don't know. I might not have it. Let's pull our money out. That's what's going on right now. And so there's a lot of unknowns in the thing, in this whole mess of things right now. So what it is it's basically that these reforms are creating a political situation that's creating it's reducing, not creating, it's reducing investor confidence. So when you have reduced investor confidence, then you're going to have people pulling their money out. So therefore, the peso is going to be less, it's going to be weaker. So that's what's happening right now. That is a good, Gringo, that is a good theory, but it's like tenure. There is no way to remove them if performance starts to slip. No bueno. China would just step in, fill in the gap if U.S. doesn't trade. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, actually, Mel Larkey said that. China would just fill in the gap. And actually, Mel, the one thing that people don't realize is that China is moving towards Mexico. They're actually moving to Mexico because Mexico's a lot closer. The other thing is that Mexico has a free trade agreement that guess what, expires next year. So that's what a lot of these threats of the no free trade. I think Trump has even said that I want to put tariffs on everything coming in because he's looking at the free trade agreement going away real soon. So then he can start saying, well, no more free trade. We can start putting tariffs. But the problem is you start putting tariffs, then you're gonna see some problems. But you might see the peso go up, but you also might see inflation go up. That's the problem. And Lambda, term limits seem realistic. Yeah, they do. And like I said, the one thing too is China. Right now there's already tariffs on China because there's an attempt to slow down trade with China. So what China's doing is they're moving a lot of their operations here to Mexico. Actually, it's cheaper for them to ship everything over to Mexico, and they're even building factories here. There are several Chinese electric car companies that are building factories here, and all of this, and actually Foxconn, who makes your iPhone, I've said this many times, they've actually looked into Mexico. We have a very good friend of ours that does evaluations for businesses and stuff like that. And there's a lot of Chinese companies that want to come in here. Why do they want to come in here? Because if they get if they manufacture their product here in Mexico, guess what? It's no longer made in China. It's made in Mexico. Even if they bring the parts from China and they put it together here, now it's made in Mexico. Made in Mexico, free trade, no tariffs. And so it costs them less, nearshoring. Exactly, Gringos or us. I was going to just say that. It's called nearshoring. And they're nearshoring. So it's one of those things that, yeah, China's going to step in, but China also has a lot to gain or lose from any kind of trade partnership with Mexico, because they're looking at, and that's the other thing too, Chinese companies may be saying, well, let's wait. We're not going to invest anymore in this factory over there until we see how things turn out. What I see for the peso is probably, we don't know. Like I always say, I'm going to say this time and time again, we don't know. We never know. The peso could strengthen again. We could see, even though the exchange rate goes up to 25 to 1 or whatever, or 20 to 1, we may see inflation go up, because if the Mexican economy starts to suffer, then your inflation, your prices are going to go up. Your inflation is going to go up. So yeah, you might get more exchange rate, dollars, pesos for your dollar, but what is those pesos going to buy? That's the one thing you need to keep into consideration. It's not only the exchange rate, it also has to do with what can that exchange rate get you. Right now, you're in a good position. And that's why I keep saying, keep watching that exchange rate, move pesos whenever you can. But at the same time, don't put all your money in one basket. Even if the peso strengthens, I know yes, you'll have some reserves, but if for whatever reason we have issues, you need to go back home, you're not stuck with all your money in pesos over here and then having to transfer back and then losing a lot of money, if anybody sees where I'm coming from. So it's one of those things that you really need to keep track of the exchange rate, keep track of inflation, and also don't think of everything as far as the exchange rate. Think of things as far as how much does 20 pesos take me? Because there's no use in saying, great, the exchange rate is 20 to 1, but my apartment still costs, instead of costing $700, now it costs the same $1,000 of when it was 17 to 1. So, and we've noticed inflation. Now, the one good thing that the peso may come back is that, and the new president it's gonna depend on the new administration. A lot's gonna depend on the new administration, but the peso's what's gonna determine whether the peso comes back to is inflation, interest rates. Are they gonna keep the interest rates high? If they keep the interest rates high in Mexico, which we're very used to in the United States, we want them low, we want them low, we want them low, we want them low. Here in Mexico, they want them high, they want them high, they want them high. And why is that? Yeah, for term limits, yes. And actually, the United States is going through that right now with a lot of judges making really bad decisions and politically motivated decisions instead of being nonpartisan. But why in the United States do we want interest rates to go down? Because it's a consumer economy and we live on credit. In the United States, everything's a credit cards. So when the interest rate goes down, guess what? Your interest rate on your credit card goes down. When interest rates go down, when you get a car loan, the interest rate goes down. When the interest rate goes down, when you get a house loan, the interest rate goes down. So you pay less. Okay, so in the United States, we're in the habit of lower, 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 lower. When we higher, 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 but see, when the reason why they had to raise the and I'm going to get into this now, the reason why they had to raise the interest rates in the United States was to curb inflation. Because with the lowering of interest rates comes inflation. In Mexico, most stuff is purchased in cash. You buy a car, you pay 90% of it or 100% of it or even 50% of it if you're gonna get a loan, and the interest rates are high. So when you buy a house, most people don't finance their house. Not a lot of people finance their houses. They pay in cash. So what happens? You can keep the interest rates high and keep inflation down. That's what's kept inflation down too. What else has it done? Well, if the interest rate is high, for example, they call them CETES here. On a bond, you can get 11.5% interest on a bond, on a government bond. Okay, that's unheard of in the United States. I think it's at 6% now, but it was at 3% or 2% before. So you can go and you can put money into a government bond here and get 11%. And it's secure. It's secured by the government. So why don't I just go out and buy government bonds? Or I'm going to purchase their currency because their currency is doing good. So that's where, but here's the problem. This is what we were talking about, investor confidence. If interest rates start to reduce, and they might reduce interest rates here in Mexico to increase purchasing. But you got to remember, Mexico is not a consumer economy. They're an industrial economy in the sense that all of their economy relies on exports and trade, okay? Most of their economy, not on what people consume. Now, here's the thing. When people consume more, it helps. But it's not like the United States. So that's where we need to understand the dynamics. Let me see. That is so true. The hardest part for us has been to think pesos when shopping. The dollar has some effect, but we are spending pesos. Yes, and that's one of the things that I had the hardest thing doing too is, we don't think because, oh, okay, I got a 500 peso bill here. And we spend in pesos and we don't even think about what we're spending. And what I do suggest is take your money, or whatever your paycheck is, whatever you transferred into from your American bank account to the Mexican bank account. And let's say you have 10,000 pesos. Budget on the 10,000 pesos, not on the $1,000 that you sent, or the 20,000 pesos, not on the $1,000 you sent to your account. And just remember that you're spending in pesos, and try to figure out, sometimes what I've done is, oh, it's only 2,000 pesos. And I don't realize it's like 2,000 pesos is $100. I mean, right now, if it's at 20 to 1. And you don't think of that. And $100 here and $100 there, it can add up. So, you really need to start thinking in the conversions and how much you have, and maybe even, like I said, start to budget in pesos. Okay, how much is my rent? How much is this? How much is that? How much do I transfer? And then also say, you'd be able to adjust if the exchange rate goes down. Okay, I'm transferring less money now. Okay, so, and there's a large, actually, if I look at my pension, and at 17 to 1 and at 20 to 1, the difference is a lot. I mean, it's a lot. It's a large amount. Okay, so you need to really sit down and look at what you're doing, and really the way you're going to survive all of this, whether it goes up or go down. And yeah, you're going to benefit if the exchange rate goes up, but if it goes down, you have to be ready too. And that's the biggest problem that we have for people coming on fixed incomes. And I know it was really hard for a lot of people on fixed incomes when rent was going up and the exchange rate was going down. For their $600 apartment all of a sudden was costing $800, $900, and you're living on a $1,500 or $1,800 Social Security check. That is a lot of money. $300 more is a lot of money, especially with the rent going up and the peso going down. All of a sudden you're paying $300 more in rent. And the problem I see a lot of expats do is they come here and they think, okay, I can live on $1,500 a month. Well, one day you might be able to live on $1,500 a month, but if the economic ties change, you can't. I mean, it just depends. And here's the thing, I'm not going to say you can't, because you probably can, but you really need to budget. You really need to be ready for those changes. You need to be ready for that change in your budget. If you're going to live here on $1,500 a month, I would say more realistically $2,000. $1,500 a month is pretty hard unless you live very, 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 very frugally here. I'm not saying it can't be done, because I'm not going to argue with other YouTubers that put out $1,500 a month. I'm not going to argue. Yes, okay, it can be done, but I would say more realistically $2,000 to $2,500. And the average Social Security check is getting there with inflation and cost of living increases. I budget entirely in peso. I tried budgeting in both currencies, but was too tiring for my brain when combined with my Spanish classes. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah, Denise, and the other thing too, if you budget in pesos and you transfer everything in pesos, you start to live like we were talking about, integrating into the local culture. You start to live in the local culture. You get to see. I mean, you're integrating into the actual culture here. You get to see how it is. The big thing is integrating into the culture is what's going to keep you here. Is what's going to make you survive. Not integrating into the culture is the hardest part, because if you don't integrate into the culture, then you're going to get frustrated. That's one of the things. As a matter of fact, one of the things I want to say is one of the videos that I wanted to do is, and I think I've done one before, is reasons why a lot of people leave and go back home. Not all of them are culturally related, but one of them is. It's just a fact of life. I mean, we come from two different cultures, and you've got to be adaptable. And being adaptable is the most important thing when living in Mexico. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Being adaptable, being adaptable, being adaptable. That's what's important. If you're not adaptable, you're going to have a hard time. And I'm talking about adaptable to everything, adaptable to the culture, adaptable to the way of life here. Well, that could be, you could call that the culture too. Adaptable to this peso exchange rate going up and down. Being able to adapt your budget. If the peso exchange rate goes down, being able to adapt your budget. Being able to adapt your budget if it goes up, and you see some extra money here and there, hey, that's great, man. You can go on a vacation, or you can square it away for a rainy day. And yeah, Gringos R Us, you have to remember you're a guest in this country and act accordingly. Yes, I totally agree, Gringos R Us. I totally agree, Jesse. Does your 2K to 2.5K include things like health insurance, auto insurance, gas, car maintenance, etc.? Or is that estimate for just monthly expenses at a comfortable level, but just rent, food, and utilities? Actually, Jesse, when I say 2,000 to 2,500, this is living very frugally. A lot of people that come here, for example, what you need to understand is rent, depending on where you're at, rent can vary. You know, to live comfortably, to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you that to live really comfortably, you need at least $4,000 a month. I mean, to have a car, spend on gas. You got to remember, gas here is very expensive. You know, I hear so many of my friends, that's the biggest political debate right now in the United States. Gas was $2.17 when Trump was in, and now it's at $3.50. Well, guess what? Gas here is like $6 a gallon, or $5 and something a gallon the last time I checked. And so I have a Jeep Cherokee. It cost me $100 to fill up my Jeep Cherokee every time so you can imagine I spend a lot in gas, okay? So a lot of people have to come here. Let me see, because this Lambden said something, I'm guessing most people have had a budget in the US or Canada. Why don't you have one in the reside in Mexico as well? Yeah, that's true, must accept the Mañana syndrome, but I like it. Yeah, exactly, Anna. But the thing is, for example, Jesse, there's a lot of things you have to sacrifice for that 2,000 or 2,500. Like I said, for example, you might not have a car. You might have to take public transportation everywhere. And you're not going to have insurance, okay? Because insurance is going to cost you $500 or $600 right off the bat. Or it does for me. You might be able to get an IMSS, which a lot of people do, but you have to qualify for IMSS. So you give up a lot of your creature comforts for that $2,000 or $2,500. And that's the thing that I try to express with most YouTubers that tell you $2,500 a month. Yeah, but $2,500 a month, for example, I'll give you an example. If you come here with $500,000 and you buy yourself a $200,000 home in a nice place that doesn't cost a lot of electricity, and you already have enough money for a car, and you don't have that expense, or you buy an electric car and you get solar panels, you could technically live on $2,500 a month and own your house because you don't have rent, right? And maybe you only spend on gas because you own your car. So it's going to be, you have to weigh it out. I know that there's one, talk about it here, I'm here in Merida. I know there's one YouTuber that talks about how I live on $1,000 a month. He even says, I pay $350 for rent. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen the house that he lives in. He lives very frugally. He does pay $350 of rent. And if you ever see some of his videos, he's sweating profusely because he doesn't have air conditioner here in Merida. So he has to sacrifice that air conditioning. And supposedly he has air conditioning in his bedroom, I guess, someone said or told me. But I can only run it at night because I have to save money on the electricity because in Merida it's very hot here. So you have to, and he lives very frugally. For a while, he only rode a bike. He didn't buy a truck until probably 2 years ago. He bought a truck. He rode a bike everywhere. He walked everywhere. He's doing a little bit better probably on YouTube now, and with a lot of his stuff that he's peddling or whatever, services and stuff like that. So he's a little bit better off. But yes, he's done it. He could probably tell you my budget's $1,000 a month. But also remember, and I'm not putting down the way he lives, but he has sacrificed, and I'm using him as an example. I have to sacrifice riding a bike around town. I have to sacrifice living in a gated community. I have to sacrifice certain things, and maybe those things, I mean, it's not important to him to live in a gated community. He speaks fluent Spanish. He lives in a local Mexican neighborhood here in in Merida. I don't know exactly where he lives. I couldn't tell you whether it's a bad neighborhood or a good neighborhood, but I'm telling you, I mean, he lives probably in an older house. So those are the things that you have to really think about. When you are told by all of these people, Denise also said, yeah, my 4K cement, I have a car, I own a home. If I'm not careful, I live about 3,000. That includes the insurance. And I also have solar panel, which helps. And that's the other thing too. Like, for example, depending where you live, we were just talking about this. I think, Denise, we were talking about I asked you if you had solar panel. And I don't in San Miguel, but in San Miguel, we don't have air conditioning. I don't even have one single air conditioning in the house. I'm not sure if he is even in Merida anymore. I thought he was. I don't know. Maybe he's not in Merida anymore. Yo, you're in Merida? Yeah, Exit Plans, I'm in Merida. I'm actually in Merida right now. I decided to come over here and enjoy it. So yeah, Jesse, it all depends on your lifestyle and your budget. And I know some people that loves the simple life, the minimalist life. I'm going to tell you, I've had a lot of people, actually, when I've talked about can you afford to live on $1,500 a month, I've done this subject before. I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, welcome, thanks, Exit Plans, thanks a million. I'm in your territory right now. So it all depends. Some of these people, they love it here. They live in San Miguel de Allende. Their apartment, instead of an apartment, they found a room. They're living in a room and they're just enjoying the heck out of it. They pay hardly nothing, and you know, they have a budget of, I've got $300 a month for food. And I mean, I know people that have told me that I live very frugally for $1,000 a month, and they place more importance on their experiences here in Mexico and love it here. So it all depends on your lifestyle. So I mean, I don't want to judge anybody who wants to live here on $1,000 a month, but we need to be realistic of what you're going to get for $1,000 a month. And that's where you really need to really evaluate what kind of life you want to have here in Mexico. And, you know, if you have a more expensive lifestyle, trust me, you can live a more expensive lifestyle. I tell people you can buy a house for, even in San Miguel de Allende, in my fraccionamiento, which is a golf course, they have some affordable houses that are going for $150,000, $160,000, which for some people that live in California is nothing. I mean, that's peanuts compared to living in California. And you can get a house for as cheap as that. You can get a house in San Miguel de Allende for $1 million. And I'm almost sure it's the same here in Merida. I haven't checked the real estate here, so I couldn't say. But you could buy $1 million home here in Merida, I'm almost sure, if you have those kind of recourses. And you might want to live here in Mexico or in Merida or in San Miguel or in Cancun or whatever, just because you love the area. We need to get away from this, it's just cheaper there mentality. And maybe you do need to move because it's a little bit more economical, but enjoy it. Have fun. I mean, you know, I did a post on my Facebook. I'm just doing a reflection. I was in a cenote the other day. And it's beautiful. I mean, you're laying on your back and you look at the wonder. I mean, this is like formations that have been going on for thousands of years. And I just sat back and I said to myself, I can't believe I'm just sitting in a cenote looking at, I mean, the Mayans were here, and it's just a wonderful place. It's all the beauty. And I wrote a post that I was reflecting, and there's so many things more expensive here than in the States. Yeah, Mexiplan, that's true. And I was saying, you know, we spend so much of our life trying to get ahead, trying to get that promotion, trying to go higher up in our job. And, you know, we always find excuses. I have to, you know, I would wait till the kids get out of school. I'm going to wait till this. I'm going to wait till that. I'm going to retire when I get enough this. You never have enough money in your retirement. And I retired at 52. And the reason why I retired at 52 is because my dad had a heart attack at 56. And I mean 62. And not 52. And he was still working. And he had to retire after the heart attack. And I was like, do I want to still keep, well, would have had to retire at 57, but do I still want to keep working? And I figured out that what counts more in life are your experiences. I never in my life dreamed that I was going to be laying in a cenote watching such a beautiful sight. I never, ever, ever, ever thought that. And I mean, it was like, thank goodness I'm here. And that's what's wonderful about living here. Enjoying the experience, not just coming here because it's cheaper, not just coming here, being able to enjoy what goes on. Yeah, actually Mexican plans here very electronics and clothes and cars, for example. Yep, they're a lot more expensive than in the States. As a matter of fact, Jesse, actually, I'll tell you what, for example, the new iPhone that came out, my iPhone, my charging port is going out on it, and I have a 13 or whatever. I'm going back to the States to get a new iPhone because it's more expensive here. And I'm going to go back, I'm going to be close to the States now pretty soon. Now with my son when he gets over with his, I'm only 2.5 hours from the border. So I'm going to make a border run. And we make border runs to actually buy clothes, and we make border runs to buy electronics. But that's when we're in Monterrey. Same here, retired at 60. My mom died at 59, received not a day of Social Security. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Mal, that's the reason why I retired at 52. It wasn't a lot more money on my pension if I would have gone to 58, 57, I mean, because 57 is our mandatory retirement. It wouldn't have meant a lot of money. And, you know, my parents had these dreams of retiring. My dad got a heart attack. He retired. They finally bought their dream home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And 2 summers later, my mom got sick. And even with me, I retired at 52. A year later, I was fighting cancer. What would I have done if I would have been working? Ana, I have stayed in Mexico and Spain. Mexicans are much more welcoming foreigners than the Spanish, at least where I stayed. Yeah, you know what? Actually, Ana, talk about Spain. We had some Spanish people with us, and one of the things they were commenting about Mexico that they loved about Mexico was the welcoming attitude that people had. They were saying everybody's been so cool with us. Everybody's been so nice with us. That was one of the things they told us that was the best thing about Mexico that they liked. And they were Spanish, actually, from Spain. And we had we were with them on one of the tours. So, Hosea, you spoke on farmacias similares. Did you say it's good or bad? Actually, Hosea, it's good. Here's the thing with farmacias similares. And I said it in my video, nothing promised live every day if it's your last. Nothing is promised. Live every day as if it's your last. Mexican people are the best part of Mexico. Yeah, and actually there's a saying, Mal, that says "Memento Mori," which is remember any day you could die, so live your life. I always remember that from my cancer days. Hosea, the thing about farmacias similares, it has a history, okay? And the problem is that history has kind of followed it. The history of farmacias similares is when farmacia similares first started, they started making medication that were similar. That's why it's called farmacias similares. It had the same ingredients as the regular drug, but it might have not been bioequivalent, okay? What happened was, and you have to go back to my video because I did the research on this and I don't remember what year, but basically after a certain year, they passed a law saying that, and what it is basically they carry generic drugs, and the farmacias similares is regulated by the government through Conducef, and basically now the law says that the medication, if you're like atorvastatina, which is Lipitor, and actually the atorvastatin I think is the generic name. Okay, in the United States, what happens? A generic drug has to be bioequivalent. Here in Mexico, the generic drug has to be bioequivalent. So now farmacias similares has to have the bioequivalency to the real drug. So they can't just mix drugs like they used to. And so they are regulated. They do have to submit all of their stuff, just like the FDA, the equivalent to the FDA. And so their drugs are no longer just similar. They're actually the generic equivalent. And it's by law that they have to be the generic equivalent. So farmacias similares is good. Now, the thing with farmacias similares is you're not going to find brand name drugs, and the drug has to be generic because they can't manufacture drugs that are patented, of course. So it's sort of like buying generic drugs. So farmacias similares is good, and my in-laws use it. Now, it still has a reputation. You'll see some doctors say, no, don't get it at farmacias similares. Don't use farmacias similares. But a lot of doctors that are older, they'll remember when farmacias similares wasn't the bioequivalent. And a lot of them haven't kept up with a lot of doctors, I mean, especially older doctors, may have not kept up with the laws or whatever. So they've gained that reputation that they're not bioequivalent and they're not as good, but they are. They have to be by Mexican law. So farmacias similares is fine. The people here in Mexico are phenomenal. We have been all over this wonderful country in our 2 years here, and the common denominator has been the people. They're all welcoming and warm, and I have to agree. And if you're adaptable and you adapt to the culture, you know what? You'll have a great time here in Mexico. Well, everybody, I have to sign off because, as you can see, I'm dressed up for my date at an Italian restaurant. And I'm going to sign off. I'm glad I was able to get this mobile streaming setup going. Everyone I talk with says the same thing. From tactical standpoint, Spain wins hands down, but I'd rather give up a bunch of money to be surrounded by great people. Yep, that's great, Jesse. And I think you'll be happy here in Mexico. So I'm going to get going, but I'm glad this mobile setup worked because I'll probably be able to do some live streams I won't be able to do any videos. I'm going to be doing some research. I'll be trying to put together many scripts and stuff and research that I can. Thank you. Hope you're going to Oliva. I forgot the name of the restaurant, Mexit, but it's pretty close to the hotel. Best wishes. Thank you very much. Like I said, I'll try to keep in contact with you with lives. With this mobile setup, I can probably do it from. Let me know if you need recommendations. Well, I will definitely, Mexiplan. Thanks for the offer. Thank you guys. I really, like I said, with mobile setup, I'll probably be able to still come up live. Maybe think of some subjects that we can talk about, and also I'll work on scripts. And once I can get back into the swing of things, everything with what happened with my house in Monterey and all of that stuff, I just haven't been able to get a steady schedule going. I've been doing a lot of live streaming there in San Miguel with a friend of mine, a recording studio guy that's putting a recording studio together, and we're doing live streams / video productions, and I haven't even been able to do that. I'm gonna miss one of the biggest concerts they're gonna have there, that we were gonna do a live stream / sound thing. So thank you, and thank you, Lambda. Like and subscribe, it's free. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on this live. And like I said, as I always say, my motto is, until next time, stay safe and stay informed.